We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. Got another guest today, but this is one of those guests that you've been waiting for. Everybody says, when's Old Soul going to be on? She's
Hey,
on a little later this week because she's been busy, busy as shit, stuff we'll talk about. But Old Soul, welcome back. It's always good to see your shining face uh, on the show here. People look at me all day or look at Eric or some of these other clowns. Kristen was a nice relief, but us old
hey,
white guys aren't always that fun to listen to.
how's it going?
I'm doing fine. I did a TikTok, and I'm going to mention it to you because I think some people, when I said it, I think some people mistook it. I know you get overwhelmed a lot
I
with
do.
all the negativity coming on. You're more emotional than maybe you show here on the show. Like before coming on today, you said, I get myself together to do this because you were upset about so many things we're going to talk about. And I've often told people, when they say, I got anxiety, I'm scared, I'm terrified of this and that. And a lot of people go through that. And the reason they do that is because they look at everything that's going on and it's insurmountable and there's nothing they can do. So they end up doing nothing. And I've given some people some advice as to a remedy to get rid of some of that anxiety and some of that stress and some of that fear. And that remedy is two words. The two words are fuck it. Just fuck it. And people take that when I say that as I just don't care, anything can happen. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying you got to continue to fight, but fight the fights you can fight. If you worry about everything, if you worry about things that you cannot control, you'll be in this fucking mindset forever. And then you're not valuable to the fight. Don't worry about the things you have no control over. Worry about those things you control, no matter how small, and fight those fuckers tooth and nail and do it every day and be strong. I said that to one lady and she said, well, you can't just put your head down. I go, bitch, who are you talking to? Do I look like I'm going to put my head down? No. There are some things I can control and some things I can't. I'm going to focus on those things I can because I can control them and I'm going to fight like hell. But that's the problem. People get so terrified because they think, what if this happens? What if that happens? We have no control over that. All we have control over is today and what's in front of us. So let's focus on that and do that and not get so worried because, as we know, with Donald Trump and the Republicans, they are bullies. And what is the way that bullies win? When they make you afraid. So if
Yeah.
you're afraid, the bullies have won. And I'm a ornery old man that refuses to let motherfuckers like that win. So I'm not afraid of you motherfuckers, and neither should anybody be because we've got plenty to fight about. If we focus on those things we can control, we can kick their ass. So, anyway, I just wanted to put that out there because I know I get people coming to my page all the time saying, I'm terrified, I'm scared, and it makes me mad because it
Mhm.
seems like it's taking one person out of the fight. I've already given up. I'm terrified. Fuck that. Just say fuck it and do what you got to do.
Well, I think that's why I'm here today to give a little balance to that. Because I do
Okay.
think fuck it is a lot easier said than done. And I think that people would be more receptive to it if that nerve wasn't exposed yet.
Yeah.
It's been, you know, like 10 days since Trump's been in office, and we've been on this roller coaster ride. So emotions are up, down. You don't know what's coming from one moment to the next. When he suspended the federal government, basically,
Well,
um,
the federal funding of loans and grants. Yeah.
yeah, people didn't know where their next meal was going to come from. There are people with housing vouchers, like, how am I going to pay my rent? You know what I mean? And then you see that it's like, okay, yeah, we rescinded it. And everybody takes like this collective like breath, right? And then the press secretary comes out and say, nope, 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 we didn't rescind it. We only like tried to skirt through a loophole so that we don't have the courts in our business. And so everybody's
Right.
like all up in arms again. I think that if it affects you personally or if it affects someone that you know, and for me, when you're thinking about people being hungry, wondering where their next meal is going to come from, you feel that. And so in your mind, it's difficult to separate, okay, you know what, this is just Republicans, they being bullies, fuck it. But in order for you to say that, you have to, in your mind, not care about the people that's going to go hungry, not care about the children whose parents can't feed them. You know what I mean? So you
But
can't just say that part and ignore the other part. We know
but
how to, well, I'm learning how to separate it a little bit. But as somebody who's like struggles to separate it, I get it. And for me, and I'm pretty sure people that I can speak on their behalf, it's like easier said than done because
you're
they do.
you're misinterpreting what I'm saying.
Go ahead.
When I say fuck it, you're taking that means I don't care. That's not the case. I'm let me ask you this. How do you feel about hunger in some foreign country? Kids starving.
I don't want
Does that
anybody to be starving.
right? But what can you do about it right now?
I can't
You
be
personally. See, that's my point. My point is you're more valuable if you're fighting the fights you can fight
mm-hmm.
as opposed to worrying about everything in the world. I'm not
Yeah.
saying you don't care. I care about fascism, but I can't stop fascism personally. So I'm going to fight my fight in the effort to beat fascism. That's what I'm saying is know your role and know your limitations and work them as hard as you can. Doesn't mean you don't care. It just means you're not going to shake me, motherfucker. Fuck it. I'm fighting, I'm going forward, and you can try to scare me with this and try to scare me with that, but you don't scare me, motherfucker. I'm still coming. So don't misinterpret it as I don't care. That's not the point. The point is to keep your mind straight. People get overwhelmed and they curl up and die, and when they're afraid, they're worth nothing to us. We need you fighting. We need you strong. So fight the fight that you feel confident in fighting, and do it every day and do it hard. And if we all do that, we can get to the end result. You're not a superwoman. I'm not a superman. We can't fix everything, but somehow we think we can worry about everything. We worry about people, being marginalized. I mean, they talk about the Gaza Strip thing with the Palestinians. There's shit like that going on all over the fucking world that nobody talks about. I can't fix Gaza, but hopefully I can fix government ultimately. And then we can
Here's,
get things.
here's the grace that I would allow to people that you're referencing. You've been around for a while. You've seen a lot of crappy stuff, right?
Yeah.
I'm from
Yeah.
the hood. I don't remember a time where I wasn't witnessing crappy stuff. Like my
Mm-hmm.
mother was a neighborhood crackhead. So my skin gets kind of thick. Your skin gets kind of thick. But there are people who have had privilege enough to not experience those things. So when you're just compounding and throwing all of this crap on top of them, they don't know how to handle that. And when you're like, you know what, we got stuff to do. You can't be sitting over here crying because if you're crying, you can't be a part of the team. Fuck it.
Right.
Let's do what we can do.
Right.
It's not as easy for them to make that shift as it is for other
Oh, I
people
understand
because
that.
they haven't experienced it. I don't think,
I
to be
understand.
honest, none of us experienced this crap. COVID and that first administration was something completely different than what we're going through right now. And it's traumatic. People don't know how to handle that or deal with that, and nor should they have to. So I think that the bigger conversation is how to stay in the fight without going over the top in your mind so that you're mentally healthy and stable to keep pushing through these next 4 years that we got to push through. So I think we kind of have to allow them some grace for it.
Well, I'm not faulting them for that. I'm just trying to give some advice. People wake up in the morning and they have anxiety and they're upset and they're scared, and you just can't sustain yourself that way. I'm going to give you some disappointing news. You're younger than I am, and as you said, I've been around for a while. I'm going to be 65 years old in April. And in my 65 years, I've come to the realization that here's the deal. fucked up shit happens all the time, every day, everywhere. Life is hard, and you're going to have to deal with fucked up shit. So, in order to make it to 65 or 70 or 75, you've got to learn how to deal with that shit mentally and emotionally in order to get to that point. Because if you're upset or scared, you don't make it. You got to be tough enough to keep going no matter what. And I understand you got to have empathy for a lot of people, and I do. And maybe I'm the weird one. Maybe it's because of how I grew up. I learned very quickly. I'm gonna like if I have a million problems I got to fix. Okay, people have been in that situation. I got this problem. I got that problem. I got all these problems, and it
Mm-hmm.
seems insurmountable. There's no way I can fix all those problems. But the human nature is I got to do it quickly. I got to fix everything all at once so I can get out of this stress. What I taught myself and what I forced myself to do is say, okay, here's the first problem. I'm going to fix that motherfucker. I'm going to not worry about the other ones. I'm going to fix that one. And then when I fix that one, I go to the next one and I fix that. And guess what? Every time I fix one, I get more confidence. So when I get to the big one, I'm going, I got this motherfucker. I walked through this whole thing and it didn't happen instantaneously. And I didn't get set free from all the stress right away, but I got it done. And that's what I'm telling people. Don't take too much on it, right? Right? Don't take it all on. Take on what you can handle and beat that motherfucker.
Okay, you just said two things. The first thing that you said is through trials and tribulations, you taught yourself how to
I
deal
did.
with those types of things, to section yourself off from being overwhelmed. Like you taught that to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Other people, they haven't had to learn that. They just haven't. And then the
But the
second
point,
thing is you just gave me like an explanation. So people that's listening, like when you made your video, you're like, okay, just fuck it. If you go get overwhelmed, get out the way. We don't have time for that. But right
that's
now,
true.
you just sat down and you gave an explanation as to where your fuck it came from. Like you gave that explanation. You didn't give that in your video.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
came across more harsh than what it is.
Well,
Now, I
I
can
tend
handle
to,
a harsh
I tend to be
person, but a
harsh.
lot of people, they can't handle your harshness.
My point is what you said. I taught myself to do this.
Yeah,
And that's the important thing people have to understand. That's the one thing I learned. The way
yeah.
you think now, the stress you have now, you taught yourself to do that. So if you taught yourself to do that, you can teach yourself to do something different. And that's, I don't know if I did that out of survival because of how I grew up and some of the people I dealt with, or what it was, but or maybe it's the whole rational logical thing. This is fucked up. I can't handle it. What do I do? And then at first it's hard to not be emotional and not be terrified of everything. Um, you have to kind of force yourself into that. Okay, I got all these problems. I'm going to do this one first. You do it, and once you have some successes, and once it works, you go, huh, then it becomes second nature. What I'm saying is you've got to train yourself to be a warrior, train yourself to be strong. I don't have anxiety. Not that I don't have shit in my life going on. I don't worry about shit. Because you know what? Worrying about it has never done me any good. So logic tells me, don't worry about it. Just do what you got to do. And I realize it's easier said than done for a lot of people. People are people in my own family, they don't get it. They think I'm fucking weird. But I'm just telling you, if you can train yourself to do something by forcing yourself to do it, it works and it's very freeing in your life. If you focus on those things you can deal with it one at a time. Don't be in such a hurry to fix everything right now because you can't.
And you know what? You just gave an explanation to that video you made. So I
Yeah.
think that if this is what you would have said on your video, it wouldn't have hit the way that it did, I think.
I
But I don't
I got a
know
lot
that
of positive from it. So I don't know. I just say what I
sometimes,
say and people
sometimes when I
react.
hear it, it's like I hear like, if somebody complains about it or whatever, in my mind, it automatically tells me like I don't like go off on them. I just automatically think, okay, well, they haven't been listening to the podcast that long. So they
Yeah.
are not used to, you're not gonna like strain anything through any filter. Like it is what it is. You just don't say it. And I think like with the new people that you have listening, maybe they don't understand that yet.
Well,
And
from
then
from
people
from
are
from,
overly
from
sensitive too, so that could be a part of it.
people are overly sensitive, but my goal in the beginning of doing Irrational Boomer, I kept thinking, if I do this, how will they feel? If I do that, how will they feel? And then I just said, fuck it. I'm just going to be me. I'm going to say what I think at the time. I'm not going to step back on anything I say. I'm going to think it out, say it the way I think I need to say it, and let the chips fall where they may. And that's what I've been doing for 4 years. And some people may be put off by it, but that's okay. Fuck it. I don't care. I can't be everybody's favorite. And I'm cool with that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always gonna be people that don't care for you. There's always gonna be people that don't care for me.
In my
And
own
it's
family.
I don't care for you either. So what's up?
Yeah, really. That's it. That's it. If
Yeah.
yeah, fuck. Anyway, let's get talking about some of the things going on. We had, of course, this, and I know this kind of got you wired up a little bit, and a lot of people for that matter. We had this plane crash uh, at Reagan National Airport. Just to lay it out for people who don't know, and I'm be surprised if you don't. We had a commercial plane, commercial jet coming from Wichita, Kansas, and landing in Reagan National Airport in Washington, D.C. It was on its descent, and
Yeah.
then somehow a military Black Hawk helicopter, from what I saw, it looked like the helicopter hit the plane. Some people
Yeah.
say it's the other way. Doesn't matter. The end result was the same. We had a horrible explosion, a horrible crash, and it appears everybody died in this situation. It's a tragic situation. People are
Yeah.
dead that should not be dead. And I think to a lot of folks that was terrifying too. Some people even said, "Oh, conspiracy theory this, conspiracy theory that," and people admonished them for talking about conspiracy theories. I didn't, because when you've been through 9/11 and the bullshit Donald Trump has put us through, you question everything. You question everything that happens. How did you feel when you heard that? Heard of that crash?
I felt sad. Like I really felt sad. And then I was just waiting for the details to come out. And like, some of the first things that I started hearing was it was like a figure skating team. So it was a
Oh,
majority of children that were coming from, their tournament or whatever it is that they had. And I just like my heart just sank. Like I was still kind of hoping that maybe there would be some survivors, and then it just didn't look like it. And I felt so sad. Like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. And then I saw Donald Trump on television blaming it on Black people, brown people, Obama, Biden, Pete Buttigieg, everybody but him, and ignoring the hand that he played in it. But not
yeah,
only that, to me, the way that I deal with Donald Trump is like Trump is going to be Trump. Like I have to tell myself that so that I'm like not shocked and awe and outraged at every single thing that he does. My anger came from the backup. It just, you have Fox News, JD Vance, Pete Henson, all
yeah.
saying the same thing.
Well,
And
yeah,
you
they
realize Donald Trump is nothing without his enablers. And then
absolutely.
it reinforces just how much these people just don't care. And that's where my anger came from. And I don't understand how you could do that right away when they're still pulling people's children bodies out of the water.
Yeah.
It's just
Well, I tell you,
disrespectful. I didn't hear
I
one of these people say, my condolences go out to the family.
right.
I apologize to that family that this happened. And this is what we are going to do to make sure this never happens again. The lives that was lost, they don't give a damn. They
When
don't
Donald
care.
Trump,
It's
when
about
when
getting
Donald
them.
Trump, when Donald Trump won the election, I said it was my goal to call him out every time he does something stupid. Okay, He goes out and said, the nation in a tragedy, a nation looks to the president and says, I want some consolation. I want some encouragement. I want some sympathy. And Donald Trump does exactly what you said he did. He comes out and says it was all because of DEI hiring Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and it's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I said, okay, if we're going to place some blames, I saw some memes out there. I gathered some information. And I'm not saying Donald Trump was responsible for it because we don't know. It might have just been a silly crash. However, I want you to listen to this timeline of what has happened since Donald Trump's been president. January 20th, the very day he was inaugurated as president, he fired the FAA director. He fired him on that day and didn't put anybody else in that position. He didn't put anybody as an acting chief in that position till right after the fucking crash. That's interesting. On January 21st, the very next day, he had a hiring freeze on air traffic controllers. On January 22nd, he disbanded the Aviation Safety Advisory Board, which sounds a lot like the advisory board we had for COVID when he did the very fucking same thing. On January 28th, he offered the buyout retirement demand, sent that to existing employees, including air traffic controllers and people in aviation. Those are all interesting facts. But here's the most interesting fact that I found. January 29th, we had the very first American mid-air collision in 16 years. So if this was caused by DEI, what happened the past 16 years? There was no mid-air crashes during Biden's term. There was no mid-air crashes during both of Barack Obama's terms. There was no crashes in the second term for George W. Bush. How could it be DEI and it only happens after Donald Trump becomes president? I'm not saying he's at fault, but some of the shit he did makes you say, I'm just saying, man. The problem is Donald Trump, everywhere Donald Trump that goes, there's a dark cloud. It's a fucking mess everywhere he goes, and he constantly fails. So if he can say that this was DEI, I'm going to feel comfortable saying this crash was his fault because no other president in 16 years has had something like this happen, and no other president has gutted the aviation the aviation industry like he did just prior to the crash.
If you see me rocking,
Yeah, I see her rocking.
I was just trying to control myself, and I'll
I
rock.
know. Don't control yourself. Say what you feel.
People have been. We can't say this is Trump's fault. I can say it's Trump's fault because in the tower there's supposed to be two people. One person communicating with the helicopter, the other person communicating with that plane.
Right.
And because of the cuts, they are like, why are there two people sitting up in here? So they got rid of one and they kept the other one in there. Now this person is sitting here trying to communicate with a helicopter coming from one way, a plane coming another way. God knows how long he's been at work that day. Right. He have no backup, nobody in that tower with him to help with this. They were already short-staffed. And Buttigieg was like, okay, we need to restaff this place because of safety measures and all that stuff. When they first came in, they wasn't blaming it on DEI when they started first making those cuts. It was deregulation this, deregulation that. They haven't learned anything since his first term. We had a whole train derailment because of regulations.
There's another culprit.
A helicopter and a plane collide with people, including children on there, because of his cuts and his deregulation. If you don't want DEI in there, that's fucked up. I get that. But at least have somebody in the position before you tell the DEI to leave.
Because there's another culprit in this.
And save money on safety things because that extra money, they're trying to put that in their pocket. So it's like,
Right.
hey, I could hire this person, and that's an extra $30,000 salary or whatever it is over here. So it's not that they're making cuts, it's the money that they're spending on these salaries and these programs and these safety measures. They want to take that money and put it in their pocket, but you can't put it in your pocket if you need to pay people, if you need to invest in programs, if you need to do this, if you need to do that. They just are trying to steal everything, even if it costs your life. They don't care. They just want their money. And
There's another
it's just,
culprit. There's another culprit in this situation, and that is Congress. I don't know if you heard this part of it. There was a congressman, and I don't remember who it was. It was a Democrat, and the capacity of flights coming into Reagan National, which is a very busy airport on a very small footprint. So it's busy and it's touch and go, and people have had close calls there before. But the capacity for passengers coming into Reagan National Airport per year is about 15 million people. Okay, that's a lot of people. You know how many people are coming into Reagan National every year? Over 20 million. And that's because Congress allowed them to do that. So we
yeah.
have an airport that's over capacity. The Republicans in Congress, maybe Democrats too, have said, look, we got to keep it flowing. We got to keep it busy. We're over our limits, but we can do this. We can do this. So that adds to the potential danger in these situations. And then you throw with the deregulation and you throw the cuts of positions. It's a recipe for fucking disaster.
Yeah, I don't know if people paid attention to our previous transportation secretary, but this was like something that he took seriously. And the whole time that he was in his in his job, he had his foot on their necks.
Right.
And he was seeing like the statistics of this happening. And he's like, okay, we need to hire people, we need to do this, we need to do that. Everything that he could to make sure that this wouldn't happen. And then one of the things, like, he was worried about, a American, like, human lives are in our safety, but then he was also focused on making sure they don't scam us out of our money. I don't know if you
Right.
remember, but he was like, hey, if you cancel their flight, you need to give them back their money. They don't want a voucher, give them back their money. And he was really trying to get aviation together. Like, we need to get this together. This is not working for me. The whole time he was in office, he had his foot on these people's neck.
Yeah.
And the fact that they blamed him for that, I know they blamed him because he was in the Biden administration, but it takes a little bit more, just easier for MAGA to digest it, knowing that the man was gay.
Yeah.
And
That
they
that
would
had something
rather
to do with it.
be bigoted and hire mediocre at best white men than to see any other group excel and succeed.
Yeah.
Like, MAGA will defend this crap, and then they will get up, hop on a plane, and don't even think twice about it.
Yeah.
Like, they are willing to risk their lives because they don't want to see any other minority group accomplish or do anything in this country. Not
We know
understanding that it wouldn't be a country if it wasn't for minorities.
we know that Republicans love the idea of taking off regulations. We've got to let businesses do what they've got to do, take off regulations. And if you take off regulations and you can trust corporations or big business or oligarchs, if you can trust them to do the right thing, that's fine. Take off the regulations. It may make things run smoother. But the fact of the matter is, we know if you do take off regulations, things like what happened in DC will happen, more pollution will happen. They don't do the right thing. They do the thing that's going to make them the most money. And this is why, in spite of what the Republicans say, got to take off regulations. Wish we could, but you motherfuckers cannot be trusted.
Yeah, you kind of have to look at it like their children when it comes to these corporations. If you let your child decide what they want to eat every day, what you think they're gonna go for? They're not. Most children are not gonna go for the fruits and the vegetables, some water and some orange juice. They're gonna go for the cookies and the
Right.
crackers and the chips and all of that stuff. If you tell your child, like, okay, well, you could, Your bedtime is 8 o'clock, and I'm trusting you every night to go to bed at 8 o'clock. You think that's going to happen? It's the
No.
same thing with these companies. If you trust them to put in regulations, they're not going to do it. You cannot trust them to keep people safe because they are going to cut corners at every opportunity that they have. And that's the problem with saying that we need to run the country like a business because they're looking
Doesn't
at
work.
the bottom line. They're not looking at people's safety. They're not caring about anything or anybody except for the bottom line and how to line their pockets. That's the only thing that they care about. You can't run a country like a business because you don't care about people. I don't understand when the people who vote for these fools don't get that, especially when there's the ones that's most impacted by this. I don't get it. I don't get it. And they're just allowed to just be mediocre, kill people, mess up, tear things down, don't build things back up, and then they get praised for that. I
Yeah.
don't get it. This
You
whole thing
mentioned
does not have to happen. There's
you
families out there whose loved ones and children is not coming home, and only thing they can say is DEI, not a
yeah.
word of sympathy for these families. That's
And
because they don't have it in there. My first instinct is like, that's sad, that's tragic. And then my heart kept sinking lower and lower and lower, finding out that there's children on that plane. But behind the scenes, these Christians are like, how are we going to spend this? How are we going to do the damage control right away? And the reason that it was damage control right away is because they know they messed up. They know they were wrong for this. That's why you don't see Charlie Kirk out here running his mouth. That's why you don't see Nick Fuentes out here running his mouth. Candace Owens out here running her mouth. Because they know what Donald Trump did and they know that this is his fault. But ask one of them fools to call him out. They won't do it. They will
no.
not do it.
Well, it's something that what people say is that cruelty is the point. And you mentioned the memo that Donald Trump released, his people released regarding the freezing of federal funds. I just want to point out something. When he did this, this illustrates perfectly something I've said all along. He puts that out. People immediately see that there's nothing specific written in it. They're saying it's going to affect Section 8, it's going to affect Medicaid, it's going to affect lunches for kids, it's going to affect this, this, and this. So they take it to court and they say, we're going to delay it till Monday, which pisses me off. It's totally unconstitutional. Just dump the motherfucker. Anyway, there's enough pushback by the people and there's enough noise being made. Donald Trump comes out and says, I didn't mean Medicaid. I didn't mean Section 8. It's not that. It's only this. And the pushback continues. So then he puts out this memo rescinding it. And so people immediately see that as, well, he rescinded the whole plan of the freeze. And Donald Trump gets butthurt because he looks weak, because he is fucking weak. And he says, oh, we were just rescinding the memo, not the freeze. The freeze will go on. And still, we don't know what he means by the freeze. He's never explained it. And then we hear about some report that lists some of the places he said it wouldn't affect, but now this says it will affect. And this is part and parcel to Donald Trump. Two things about Donald Trump in this situation. First of all, he's incompetent. He doesn't even know how to release a memo and make this statement. He is just acting emotionally and reactive and putting this shit out. And he's trying to create chaos and fear, and he has some luck with it. He claims he has a mandate, but with all the pushback, clearly he didn't have a motherfucking mandate because they weren't getting on board with that. But he can't admit he's wrong, but he'll lie to people. And that's the important thing you got to remember is he'll fucking lie every time. He'll say, oh, this doesn't count. We're not doing that. We're not doing this. Or I don't know anything about Project 2025. And then he'll fuck you in the ass with it. So you can't trust Donald Trump. You can't trust a single word he says.
No, because right now, he said it. The press secretary said it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We still gonna do that. We're just trying to figure out a way to get it done.
Right.
Like that's basically what they said. And we only said rescind it because we know that it's unconstitutional. We know that the courts will rule against us. So instead of embarrassing Trump in that way, we rescind it. And now we're trying to figure out how to take your benefits, your health insurance, your SNAP. We're trying to figure out how to take that away without going through the courts. Or maybe we can try to find a way to file it in a certain way with some Trump friendly judges that'll go along with this BS.
Yeah.
And there's MAGA people right now, oh, that's not what happened. Well, this didn't go down. That didn't go down. They're still covering it up. They're still making excuses. But in the meantime, behind their backs, they still trying to take their stuff. Still
Yeah,
trying to do.
absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing about it is when Donald Trump said, I rescind that memo, and people thought he meant he was rescinding the freeze. What he really was saying is, what he was sorry for, and where he found his mistake wasn't the freeze. It was
Yeah,
telling us about the freeze. I
that part.
shouldn't have told you, and that's the
That
problem.
part. Yeah. As if we would have woke up on Tuesday and people wouldn't have noticed that they couldn't get into their Medicare and Medicaid portals. Like people wouldn't have woke up on Tuesday and went to the doctor's office and their insurance didn't go through. Like people wouldn't notice that right before their procedure, the doctor is coming in like, hey, we can't verify your insurance. You put out a memo and gave us like what, a little bit of a heads up? But let's say you didn't put the memo out. People still would have noticed. What he is trying to tell people, or not through his words, but through his actions, is we're trying to figure out a way to get away with this. We're trying to
Right,
figure out
right.
a way to kind of like sidestep the system and get this done. I got a story to tell you.
Okay, go ahead.
Hey, I need to calm down. But it's going to tie back to this whole thing. Part of my goals and objections is to, while all of this crap is going on, the children that's in my community try to take advantage of it, to try to get them a little step ahead. So we have them like learning Spanish, different stuff like that. We got some tutors going on. But we was trying to think about credit. When you graduate from high school, you know nothing about credit. Like you kind of have to mess it up a little bit to figure out how it works. So I went to our bank, and like the older kids, they all got their debit cards and stuff like that. And the banker actually agreed to come and speak to our kids. So he comes and
Oh,
he has like 3 different credit card offers. One is just like a student fresh in college, just kind of like a bad offer, but it's not as bad as it could be. The other one's a
yeah.
credit card offer for somebody with good credit. The next one is a credit card offer for somebody with bad credit. And we're going through like line by line, reading the interest rate, the terms. It might be the annual fee in there. And one of the kids, he's really, really smart. He caught on to it before everybody else. And he's like, wait a minute, this is the same card. So why does this card have an annual fee? Why is this card's interest rate 3%? And why is this card 29%? Like, it's the same card. It's the same thing. Like, why do these people have to pay more? And so he started explaining to him, well, the people with the bad credit, they have to pay more. And he goes into this whole conversation like, it's expensive to be poor. If you
It
can't pay
is.
your bills and you are struggling, the system is going to take advantage of that and they're going to make you pay more. If you have good credit, you get to pay less because they want to keep your business and they want to stop you from going to the other competitors. They make their money off of the poor people. They don't make their money off of people who can pay their bills every month. So then we go through renting an apartment, which your down payment is going to be if you got bad credit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The bottom line is it's expensive to be poor. And then he goes into when we have like Black Panthers in this community that we have right now, people felt threatened by that. And that's the reason that they want to shut that down, because when you have Black and brown kids learning about credit, learning how to save their money, learning about budgets, that type of stuff, it costs them money. So they have to break that up. We have 2 white kids in the group and their parents are sitting there. And he's like, you know what? This applies to y'all too. Because the thing that brought MLK down was white people started seeing this on television and they were like, no, we don't want to handle that. Then you see Malcolm X, he didn't used to let white people in his organization, but before he passed away, that's what he started doing.
Yeah.
Then you look at Bobby Kennedy, and he is like going into the hoods. He's reaching out to Black people like, hey, we need to all work together. All of that was a problem, and it led to assassinations. And he was like, so what you need to understand is they have to divide and conquer. Because when Black people and white people come together, of the working class and the poor, it's dangerous to them. So they have to keep
Absolutely.
us divided. And he said the perfect example of that, it's what's going on right now. It's DEI this, DEI that, they're taking your this, they're taking your that. But when they shut down like the grants and the aid for people, Republicans, Democrats, Trump supporters, Kamala Harris supporters, Black, white, gay, everybody came together and was like, we're not supposed to have this. Once they saw that we were all together as like the working class and all of this race and all that stuff didn't matter, that's what made them correct course. And they did it really, really quickly. Just like when the CEO got murdered, we were all together on that. It was a threat to them when they did that. And so he was telling them, real time, you can see this happen. Like, as bad as Trump is, he does stuff that's horrible, and it pushes us together. And when we're together, we're strong, we're powerful. We didn't even have to take to the streets for them cutting off benefits. We was just at home on social media, like, y'all tripping, calling
Right.
representatives, sending emails, that type of stuff. It got them together really quickly because we worked together. And then like the
Well, that,
two white parents in the group, they was like, we never looked at it like that. And the longer that the divide goes on in this country, or the longer that we allow them to divide us, the rougher it's going to be. You can see real time when we all work together, like on a class level, like, okay, these millionaires and billionaires, they getting out of pocket. And when we are together as a group and we push back, stuff happens. The only way to conquer us and for this fascism crack to work is to keep us divided. And it, like that whole lesson came from him talking to these children about their credit. And
I
I
think
think
one,
that's the bottom line when it comes to all of this. It's been two instances now where we have like worked together and pushed back, and stuff happened really, really quickly. But when you have one group of people over here talking about bathrooms and this and that, and you got another group over here talking about something completely different, then it kind of like slow walks it. There's a delay here and there. We putting this off, all this other crap going on. But when we stand together and we push back, oh, it gets handled real quick because they can't have that. The longer that they allowed that to go on, the longer we would have been standing together, the entire working class and the poor, the longer we would have been standing together and pushing back against their crap. And that's what they didn't like about it. That's what made them stop. That's why they're trying to sidestep the system right now. They still want to do it, but they need to do it in a way to where we not together. You know what I
well,
mean?
that's
That's what's
that's why we have to understand in this situation, when they did what they did about the rescinding of the memo, they were trying to placate us, but we can't be dumb enough to be placated by it. We should still
Mhm.
be outraged. We should still be outraged and pushing back. I mean, what's that old phrase? The enemy of my enemy is my ally. You know,
Mhm.
when I'm looking at you as a young Black woman, I'm an old white man, and we've got poor people. What separates us in color and age isn't important. What brings
Yeah.
us together is we're middle class, we're poor, we're working poor, and we're all fighting against the same enemy. So that
Yeah.
should be enough to unify a people. And they want it to be about black and white. It ain't to
Yeah.
me, it isn't to you. It's about class, like you say. And once
Yeah.
everybody realizes that, they're fucked.
Yeah. And I noticed it. Like I hadn't really paid it attention until he said it. And then one of the moms, she's like white, and we was kind of like hanging out because after we did the credit thing, then each parent was like going in with their child and like, talking in private. And they were kind of like going over the budget and stuff so that the children knows what's going on in the household, how that works. And then like the longer they learn how to manage that, the better they will be once they get out of school, right? So they back there having a little conversation with the first family, and her and I were talking, and she said, I noticed that once it came out that the order had been rescinded, MAGA immediately went back to covering up for Trump, making excuses, and it wasn't a problem. But before he rescinded the order, they don't line with us, talking, getting loud, getting crazy. Like they was crazier than we was.
Yeah.
And once he rescinded that order, she noticed that they went right back to making excuses for him. And she was
Yeah.
like, I don't know how to combat that. And I was just telling her, like, hey, you just saw what happened in real time. You can go in circles, like your coworkers, your family, the other people that you hang out with, that I can't be in those circles. And that's the reason why you're here and you're learning it so that you can spread that information. Because if I sit there and say, it's a class issue, they're going to look at it like, oh, she just wants DEI. She just wants this and that and the third. But when it comes from you, it's different. So,
Yeah.
like, don't hear this information, don't have these conversations, and then keep it to yourself. Like, you heard it for a reason. You're here with us for a reason. You need to be like talking to your people, giving them these examples and trying to help them see what's going on. And she was just like, hey, I never thought about it like that. But
Well, people are all upset about what's going on with Donald Trump in this country. But I'm hearing all kinds of things all over the country. I've heard about protest. We don't see it in the media. I've heard about protest in other countries. We don't see that in the media. And when we were talking before we went on, you were talking about some newspaper articles about Donald Trump in other countries. It'd be interesting to see what they're thinking of this whole thing. Is it a big joke to them? Are they angry, or what's going on?
But what they're doing is they're preparing. You can see France sending like troops and militaries into like Greenland and Denmark. They
Yeah.
are preparing. And then you hear of emergency meetings between countries. They are preparing for Trump trying to invade, anything like that. They're preparing for this. And the thing about it is, if he sends troops to any of our allies, and this is what MAGA is failing to see, we will be on our own. Do you think the Chinese is going to come help us? Do you think Putin is going to come help us? No, they're not going to do that. Especially the way
Yeah.
he been like out of pocket now lately. He's on a like, when you say somebody that's power hungry, that is Donald Trump, and a child this way too. Like, if you ask a
He's
kid,
stupid.
what would you do if you were president for a day? This is the type of crap that they would be doing. But they're preparing and they're making fun of him and they're not taking him seriously, like at all. The Mexican president, Sheinbaum, I think that's her name.
Yeah.
Oh, she a problem. She is a problem for Donald. Like, she is a whole problem for Trump. She's not even like considering what he's saying. But the German newspaper, I think they had I can't remember what the head of the newspaper was, because my little niece kind of like showed it up to me and she's like, look what they said about Trump. I'm gonna ask her to send it to me. It's crazy. And then my friend in the UK, she sent me the paper that I sent you. And it says Return of the Village Idiot. And then at the bottom corner of the newspaper, they have like the construction worker from the Village People, like at the bottom of the newspaper, kind of look like he dancing. This is a joke to these people overseas in other countries. Like, this is a joke to them. This is a whole joke. They know he's incompetent. They know he's stupid, and they are not afraid of him. One reason they're not afraid of him because they were scared the first term, and then they kind of figured out, okay, yeah, he's not like, he's not gonna hurt us like that. But then the second reason that they're not afraid of him is because they are having closed door meetings, they are talking to each other, and they are making plans for if he does try to take it there. The president of Mexico, Sheinbaum, she had a picture with her and she, right? And my brother was telling me, like, that type of stuff does not happen. She took that picture and allowed it to be public, posted, so the whole world can see it. That's her sending a message to Trump, like, hey, if you want to put these tariffs on or do this or do that, we're going to do business with China. We don't need you. We don't need your crap. And they're not going to. And I think part of the problem that MAGA is missing while they're being immature and Trump 2024 kind of crap, once our allies start doing business with China and other countries and we are completely out of the conversation, we don't even have a seat at the table. Do you think when
Right.
Trump is out of office and the next president in, they're going to be like, okay, Trump gone now. We know we spent the last 4 years trying to disrupt your country and bankrupt your people. You can come back to us now and we can do business again. No, the trust is gone. The relationship is gone. That's not fair. And it takes years, decades to try to rebuild that trust. Once
It
it's gone,
does.
it's going to be gone for a while. And we're just going to have to get used to suffering. Pretty much, we're just going to have to get used to that if we allow him to do what it is he's planning to do. And I did see earlier today, he was talking about the 25% tariffs on Canada, and I think Mexico's the other country. Don't quote me on that, but their relationships is gone. That's
And
it. We on our own.
you make a good point, that the first term Donald Trump was an unknown commodity, and people were
Mm-hmm.
fearful because they didn't know what kind of crazy shit he did or what he was capable of. But after going through that first term, they realized he's a buffoon, he's a goof, he's silly. And when I keep hearing Republicans talking about tariffs, they aren't considering what you just brought up. Mexico, they're going to put tariffs on Mexico. We're going to make them pay. And then she aligns herself with Xi of China. Colombia did the same thing.
Yeah,
They said, yeah, so this is what's happening when he's talking about putting tariffs on anybody, everybody. China's doing the smart thing and going, listen, man, we got you. We got you. And his whole fear of China, he's making it worse, which
yeah.
is so Donald Trump.
I I just try to like people that don't understand politics. Um, because one of my honey's friends was like asking, like, I don't understand it. And so I told him, look at it like this. Let's say you're in a relationship with a girl, right? And you mistreating her, you staying out late, you come home, you want to clean up after yourself. Maybe you didn't cheated on her a time or two. You just mistreating her. You're taking her for granted. But then, her coworker at work, every time she come to work and she upset and she going through stuff, he like, hey, he ain't good for you. You deserve better than that. I'm here. It's only gonna be a
Right.
matter of time before she slide on over to the next, even if it's just to feel some kind of comfort. And then you gonna be sleeping on your mama couch. That's what's going on right now. It's just that simple. While we are sitting here treating our allies like crap, China is swooping on up in there like, hey, you ain't got to deal with America. You don't need this. We could do the same thing. I could get you even better deals. Look at our technology. I just announced that it's going to be cheaper. In the meantime, Donald Trump is shutting down the CHIPS Act while he's trying to say we're trying to be competitive with China. That's not possible at this point. But we are driving our allies into the arms of another man or into the arms of another country. That's what we're actively doing. Now, once you drive that person to the other arms, they're not supposed to just run back. And if you messing with somebody like me, you wasting your time, homie. You better go somewhere else. That's what we're doing right now. And MAGA is like, I don't know if they just need to like grow up or what, but they're still Trump 2024, Trump this, Trump. It's not a game. This is real life. And these are people's lives. These are people's livelihoods. And he's just playing with it. That's
Well, I tell
basically what
you
he's
know
doing.
what they always say Donald Trump's playing 3D chess. Right now, Donald Trump is playing Candyland, and the rest of the world is playing 3D chess. They not
Yeah,
only, the only thing, if they're doing it to try to make a point, it's going to be lost on Donald Trump because he doesn't understand the point. He just thinks I'm the strongest guy. What I say goes, and then people will bend to my will. And what we're finding out is President Scheinbaum or the president Petro from Colombia or any of these other places, they're just laughing at this motherfucker. I mean, he
yeah.
gave a talk at the economics summit via Zoom, and the people in the UK were just laughing at him because he said stupid shit.
Let's not leave Brazil out of the equation because they over there ramping up manufacturing because they like, oh, Trump is to mess it up. Brazil is making moves and nobody's paying attention to that. But you're saying like other countries laughed at him? Yesterday, the Republican Party laughed at him. Remember when he
Yeah.
gave that speech and he was talking about we sent $50 million in condoms to the Palestinians? The
Yeah.
Republicans in the audience, they laughed. Like they
Yeah.
just laughed. Like, what the hell did he just say? Like they literally laughed at him to his face. And then once they realized, like, the Mitch and Don really do believe what he's saying, or he's standing with a straight face, then they clapped. But they laughed at the fool first. They know better. They know better. And the sad part about it is they are going along with it, knowing how detrimental it's going to be to this country. And I think that Tim Walz said it best when he came out, when he put the freeze on everything. And Tim Walz said, Donald Trump don't know what he's doing. Like Donald Trump don't know a damn thing. It's the people he surrounded himself with. Tim Walz said that, and he could not have said it any better. Like plain English. Donald Trump don't know a damn thing. He don't.
Well, you're
They
absolutely
are
right.
around.
Donald Trump is just the pawn in this whole thing. You've got all
Mhm.
these people, the religious right, the Christian nationalists, the racists, Project 2025 people. They're pulling the strings because they figured out how to manipulate Donald Trump, which is so fucking easy. Donald Trump puts things out. He doesn't know what they say. And that shouldn't be surprising because it's all written for him and he just reads it because he thinks he's going to get all the credit for it. But here's the thing, the people around him are falling down too because their greed goes far past the logic or intellect of it. Anybody in these positions, they always push it too far. If you've got a boyfriend that's taking advantage of you, there will come a moment in time when it's too far. There's no going back. And they don't realize that. They think they're right. They think God makes them right and they can do whatever they want. Well, there's an end point when people just say, "Fuck that, we're not doing that anymore." And it's like the wealthy doing the trickle down and taking money out of the middle class. Eventually, the middle class is broken, and you've got nobody to steal from anymore. You will kill yourself because you're so fucking greedy.
I think I look at that different. I do.
Okay.
I look at that different because, people do say like, hey, if you completely squeeze the middle class, you don't have money to buy your stuff anymore.
Right.
And when you get to Jeff Bezos level, Zuckerberg level, Vivek Ramaswamy level, when you get this kind of money, your money makes money. So
Right.
different countries, offshore accounts, all that other kind of stuff, like they squeezed us. They got everything they need to get, but they are still earning millions of dollars a week, if not a day. They're still
True,
getting
but
that
what?
money, still getting that revenue while they sit in America, watch us struggle and scrape around for jobs and try to figure out how to make this work. They don't have to worry about squeezing us to the point to where we can't invest in them anymore. And even if it got that bad, they can hop on a plane and go wherever. They are not worried about once they get all of our money, who's going to pay them? Well, those interest accounts are going to pay them. Those offshore accounts is going to pay them. If you are Musk right now, he is building in China right now. Like one of his
Right.
biggest businesses is being built in China right now. Where is he going to get his money from? China. He has buildings there. He has employees there. He's getting money from China. It's going to be the same thing
Individually,
for billionaires. That's what they're going to be doing. They're going to be looking at us like, y'all let us do
yeah.
it.
Yeah, but
And
you're
they are
you're looking at you're looking at it at a small scale. You're looking at it as individuals. Yes, Bezos is rich. He'll always be rich. Yes,
mm-hmm.
Musk will be rich. He will always be rich. But if the middle class isn't here and nobody's buying from Amazon Prime, it's going to shrivel up and die. The individuals might be able to save themselves by going to an island, but the movement in general is going to impact the Trumplafucks, and they are going to pull their support from these people. So the whole movement will cave in. A few rich people might be fine because they have money that they can't spend in their lifetime. But we're talking about the whole movement here. and we're talking about the Christian right, and we're talking about the racists and that sort of stuff. They can't perpetuate that movement unless there's the support and there's a place to make money from. Bezos, Musk, they'll be cool no matter what, unless somebody takes them out. But
You don't
uh,
think
they've
these
got to perpetuate this.
you don't think these pimping, scamming pastors not getting their palms wet behind the scene? And those are the people who are telling their congregation and their communities that what these people are doing is right. They are priming people to believe this crap. And people do believe it. And by the time they wake up and they see what's going on, it's going to be too late. The pastors and the other people that know better, that's spreading this crap, the Candace Owenses, all of them, they think that if that time comes, that they're going to be able to go off with these millionaires and billionaires that they've made these connections with. They don't understand that they are going to be left here with us. They don't think that. They don't see it that way because they can't see past their own greed. So the people that know better, they think they in on the con. They think they in on the grift. So they're not worried about it because they think I got a safe place to land over here. They don't understand that they don't. Damn sure Candace Owens and any other minority, I have no idea why they would think that. But
Well,
they think that.
somebody told a story about Germany, and it was interesting. When they had to load up Jewish people onto trains and buses and take them to camps, they didn't have enough people. There were more Jewish people than there were German people in this situation. So what they did is they deputized some Jewish people to help load them up. Okay. And these people did that because, well, at least I'm saving my life. At least I'm saving my family's life. And they helped work against their own people by loading them up on trains. But when the trains were all loaded, when the buses were all loaded, and all the Jews were sent to where they're going to sue, motherfuckers loaded the ones up that were helping them. And
Yeah,
they're going to eat themselves, is what's going to happen. They're
yeah.
going to bring people on, and this is what I said about Donald Trump. These Republicans, these Trump-fucks think he's there for them for life. Donald Trump's a narcissist. He only wants what he wants. He'll do whatever he has to do to get what he wants, but once he has it, you're worthless to him. And the Trump-fucks right now are worthless to him. And proof is in the pudding, is in the freezing of federal funding. It didn't say we're just going to freeze the funding of Democrats. It's Republicans, and they're getting hit worse. Alabama is crying right now because they're thinking, "Oh my God, this is going to hit us worse than everybody." Really? You didn't fucking notice that earlier? So
But
Donald Trump's
did
going to
you
eat his
know?
own.
Did you know what happened though?
What's that?
Right after everything went back online, all of a sudden they weren't online flipping out. They went
Oh
right back
yeah,
to defending Trump. They slipped right back into MAGA. For me, I was telling you about some people that I was going to be watching this evening. I talked to them earlier because I was like, I don't know if you want to watch this episode. I'm gonna try, but I don't know. No promises.
go ahead. You can tell when old soul's getting emotional, and
I just think that it has to be pretty bad for them not to go back to that. And the fact that they are allowed to be hungry, unable to pay their bills, listening to their children's growling stomachs and knowing that there's no food, and having Donald Trump come to you and say, yeah, I'm going to take all that. And then turn around and say, okay, I'll give it back. And they cool with that. It doesn't matter if he rescinded the order and really meant it or not. That does not matter. It's the fact that he tried to do it in the first place.
Well, a good example
Thank
of
you for
that.
rescinding it, but why did you do it? Thank you for
Right.
rescinding it, but why were you comfortable enough to do it?
A
Thank you
good,
for rescinding it, but myself, my children, my family, we just had like 24 hours in hell. So forget the fact that you rescinded it. Why did you do it in the first place? And then look at your elected officials and say, hey, I sent you to Congress to protect us. Why were you going along with that crap? These are conversations that these people are not capable of having. They don't ask these questions. They don't think about it. I don't know how much these people have to suffer before they understand or feel the gravity or the weight of the situation that we are currently in. And the reason that I'm upset about it is because the organizations, when I'm going into red states and they funding these bills and they getting people the care that they need, they're like, yeah, we need to pull our funds back. I got upset and I asked one of the nuns, like, what you mean? Like, there's women and girls here that need our help. And she said, we cannot force our will onto people. They did this right after MAGA attacked the bishop.
right.
The Catholic Church was like, okay, yeah, we done. The other people who we raised money from, they're like, oh, we cool. You got an organization in Vegas that you need help with? We need to make these red states suffer. Now, you'll talk to a nun and it's like, hey, we are in red states right now, literally breaking laws, trying to impose what we feel is right onto these people. They voted not to have health care. They voted for their women and girls not to have the health care that they need. They voted to be hungry at night. And we are in here trying to impose our will on them. Like, you know what? You deserve health care. You deserve to eat. Your children deserve to eat. And we are imposing them on that because when they open their mouth, they are saying the opposite. When they go in the voting booth, they say the opposite. So every single person that was putting money in these red states, they're like, okay, yeah, we cool. Just like that, money dried up.
A
And
good
they won't say
example.
it, but the conversation is
A good
they need to feel
example
this.
of
We're not helping them feel it. How
a
hard is
good
that?
example of the ignorance of these people is back in the first term, the farmers.
Yeah.
Donald Trump set the tariffs. The farmers had crops rotting in the fields. They were
Mm-hmm.
going broke. They were committing suicide. And then Donald Trump bailed them out. Now, come 2024, uh, that was 2020, by the way. But 2024 now, the farmers vote for him again. And they
Because he made
said,
them whole. They
we,
got their bailouts.
they made him whole because he bailed them out. But
Yeah.
here's the difference. He bailed them out for some transactional reason. He bailed them out because he needed their votes. He
Yeah.
bailed them out because he needed their votes in the 2020 election. He doesn't need the votes anymore. So he may fry you in the fields. He may let your shit rot. But if you think he's going to bail you out when he's already adding trillions to the debt, he's not going to fucking do it. He doesn't
Yeah.
have to. And he could have pardoned a lot of people when he left, but he didn't because there was nothing in it for him. And that's where these people will find out. They think he's either going to only punish the Democrats, or if they do punish the Republicans, he'll make them whole. He'll pardon them. He'll give them money, but there's no money in it for him to do that anymore. And that's
Yeah.
the essence of a narcissist. I want what I want, and I'll give you whatever you got, I'll give you whatever you need until I get what I want. Then fuck you. You're
Yeah.
gone. You don't matter anymore. And we're already seeing that with Donald Trump now with Trumplefucks. He doesn't care as much. The only reason he kicked back because of all these people yelling at him about this freezing of the funding, because he has this innate need to be loved and to be popular. And for that moment in time, he was becoming woefully unpopular. That's the only thing that draws him is popularity. But his popularity is going to wane over the next year to 2 years.
Yeah. I'm learning to, as uncomfortable as this is for me,
Yeah.
is not being okay with it, but accepting the fact that innocent people are going to be harmed by this, in particular children.
Yeah.
Because for me and any half-ass decent parent, when you see your child hungry and you see your child suffering, there's no bigger motivator than that, right? And so it's almost like they children need to be hurt. They need to be hungry. They need to be struggling. They need to not be able to go to school because of vouchers or whatever the heck it is that they're trying to do. And it's
Yeah, exactly.
hard to understand that these people would sacrifice their children, not for Donald Trump, but because of their own ideals and racism and sexism and whatever the heck it is that they don't want to say this is the reason why I voted for Trump. They say it was for the policies and all of this other crap just so that they can sleep at night and just so people don't look at them like the trash that they are. But behind it, we know why they voted for Donald Trump. Like there's it is what it is. We understand that, we know that. It's just hard to like you have to come to terms with the fact that there's innocent people in these red states, women are going to die, and we're not going to get any of these reports. There's like a tuberculosis outbreak right now in a red state. We have no information on that. There's a flu going around right now that's like killing animals. We're already seeing human strands of it. No information on that. So it's just kind of like people really do have to die and suffer in order for people to say, you know what, I don't like Black people, but I don't want my child to be hungry, so I'm gonna have to suck it up for 4 years or whatever it is they need to tell themselves to do what's
Right.
best for themselves and their children. To
It's like
me,
telling
like,
tell
that's the worst part about this. It's just it's
it's
the
t-
worst part
it's
about it.
like
You sacrifice your children for this. It's insane to me that they do that.
telling a child don't touch the stove because it's hot, and they don't
Mm-hmm.
believe you, and they touch it and they go, "Man, that motherfucker's hot." Some people, we've talked about this before, and you're a compassionate woman. I'm more. I have compassion, I have empathy, but I have logic too. There comes a point where you want everybody to be safe. You want the innocent people to be taken care of, and I'm talking about people in red states. But if they refuse to learn and understand that, and that's the only way you can get some results, what can I do? We can't do any more than what we've been doing is talking about it and trying to educate people. If people in these red states are dead set on burning themselves down, all we can do is stand back and watch them do it and then watch them cry after that. I still will have trouble having sympathy for anybody in a red state that runs into trouble because Donald Trump does something fucked up. Going, you put us here, motherfucker. It's one thing
Yeah.
you can burn yourself down if you want to, but don't burn down innocent people too. And that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, I think like what we're seeing with red states, in particular the farmers, like it's the same analogy that you had. Don't touch that stove, it's hot. They take their right hand, they put it on the stove, they burn their right hand. Now you know it's hot. But then
Yeah,
they take their left hand and put it on the stove and burn their left hand too. Now you really know it's hot. And some
yeah.
of these foods, they gonna put both hands, both feet, maybe a thigh on the stove before they learn it first.
Maybe if
And
I
it's
put
not
my
that they
face
are
on there, it
incapable.
won't be so bad.
It's not that they are incapable of learning and understanding because they prove to us that they can. It's just that, that piece of themselves that is stuck on like the bigotry and the hatred of it all. And a lot of these people are just like bloodlusty. Like they like to see other people suffer. Like at the end of the day, that's what it is. And they refuse to like say that. They really, really refuse to admit it. It's like we already know the truth. You can just admit it. Like it's the same reason when they sit here and they do the Musk salute and they go out of their way to make it seem like this happens every day in America. You just walk up to your people and you do that. I saw a woman that had her son do it. I saw a pastor do it. So it like now it's not like they're excusing the behavior. They want to repeat the behavior because now they need to normalize it. It's not
Right,
normal right
right.
now, but if they normalize it, then they can say it's normal. For them to just to do this and be comfortable doing it. This is like a step further and further and further. And you can't help people like that. You got your child on the internet doing that? You a pastor and you on the internet doing that? Really? They want it to be normal because then it excuse the fact that they are okay with it. And some stuff just
And,
can't be normalized no matter how they try to normalize it. I'm never
well,
gonna
these
be
people try
comfortable with none of that crap. Ain't gonna happen.
these people these people try to normalize it and then they get burned down. Like there's one woman who did it and thought she was so proud, and she was on some commissioner's board and somebody else works someplace else. They do it. There's a big backlash. They get fired. And they
Yeah.
probably still didn't learn. They will do something else that Donald Trump or somebody in his group tells them to do. There is a certain amount of ignorance here. And unfortunately, there are some people you just can't save. You can't save. So you have to go for the greater good. If some people have to burn down, if some people have to suffer to save the greater good, it's sad. I don't like it, but we don't have any options. What else can we do? You're
Well,
getting a bit,
I think
you're getting a
people
bit, a
can.
little bit of crust on you now. Because when we first started talking about this, you were saying, well, we got to be compassionate about everybody. And that's a nice way to do it. But now you're going, yeah, maybe they have to burn down.
I don't want them to, but I have to accept it. Something like people always ask. There was somebody in, I want to say Hawk's channel, and there was she identified as a queer person, and there are so many people asking, what can like she was like instead of saying what are you going to do now that these policies are in place? Like, what are you going to do? Like, you going to go somewhere? Like, what are you going to do? She said people need to start asking, what can I do?
Right.
And that's kind of like the position that I was in when they were like, yeah, we're going to have to lay these people, these red states to suffer by themselves. Like, we got the money and the resources, but clearly what we're doing is not helping. It's just giving them an out. Like, we're going to vote for women's rights to be restricted, but I know when my right or my daughter's right is restricted, this organization over here is going to help me out. Like, they need to be like, oh, crap, there's nobody here to help me out, deal with it, and then they will learn, which I can understand because if we help them every time, that's enabling, right? So I'm like, okay, well, what else can I do now? And I just find stuff in my area to do. If there's like LGBTQ causes, shelters, anything in your community, that's how you help. Shop at LGBTQ friendly places. Don't go to places that's not. One of my daughter's friends, there's like a school out here that was harassing a couple of children that were LGBTQ plus. And every day after school, she would be in front of that school picking them up because she didn't want to have them to walk to the bus stop getting bullied, then getting bullied on the bus, and then followed home and all of that crap. Stuff like that goes a long way when it comes to people because this particular group, their suicide ideology, attempts, and successes has gone through the roof.
Right.
So they just need that support and they need to know like these people over here is just assholes. All of these people over here, we got your back. We're gonna make sure you get home safe, that type of stuff. And it can make you feel like you are doing something and you don't feel as helpless because it's so hard to watch this happen to people that don't deserve it. They're just scapegoats for the party of responsibility to not take responsibility for anything. So I think any
You know,
little
lead,
thing goes a long way, even if it's for one person. It could keep that one person from wanting to not be here any longer or not question their existence any longer. It could go a long way in that. And I think we just
leading
kind of
up
have to focus on what we can do instead of what we can't do.
leading up to this election, I think you learned a valuable lesson because you were very annoyed by it. You would go into these red states, and all these white women would want your help to make sure that abortion rights were protected in their state. And you fought side by side with them, and you guys were buddies, and they were supporting you, and you were supporting them. And then when you left and you got that right saved in most cases in those red states, they went off and voted for Donald Trump. And I know you were very frustrated by that. I know you were very upset about that. It was almost these white women pretty much hoodwinked us. And that's pretty much what they did. Was it that they were being particularly mean and just getting what they want, or are they stupid, or whatever it is? But that's the thing. There's a certain faction of people out there you cannot trust and aren't smart enough to save themselves. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can't educate them. You tried, and they still did the wrong thing. They still burned themselves down ultimately if these fuckers do a national abortion ban. There's only so much we can do, and we can't save everybody, unfortunately.
Talk about learning a lesson the hard way.
Yeah.
Um, it kind of reminded me when you were talking about that, because people were asking, like, what's up with the cancer research? Like, why are they shutting that off? And I think I talked about it was a TikTok live that night where I was like mass reported and they cut me off the live.
Right, right.
People are stupid. But I was saying on that live that if you are in childbearing years, that they are going to deny you getting chemotherapy and other trials and things like that you could participate in to try to stay alive.
Right.
I know that part of that is like, how can we allow this to allow us to have the cancer research, but not include women in that? And I was just talking to Boomer about this like a few weeks ago on TikTok. And guaranteed, once they start back up with the cancer research and all of that stuff, it's not going to be good for women when they do that. It's not going to be
Yeah.
good for them at all. And when they do stuff like that, there is no safe state. It's just not going to be a safe state. And I have no doubt that RFK Jr. is about to be confirmed.
You think
And
so?
yeah, I think so. And then we just saw JD Vance at a Klan rally saying, y'all not having enough babies. He wasn't talking to me. He wasn't talking to me because they don't want me having babies, even though he got brown children. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
He said that at a Klan rally. Remember I sent you that video?
Yeah.
Y'all,
Yeah.
y'all not having enough babies. We need some more babies, or excuse me, we need some more white babies in this country. And a halt on the cancer research. When it comes back online and they're doing their trials again and all that stuff, we are going to be left out of that. You could possibly get chemotherapy if you are in menopause, or maybe if you're like a child, perhaps, I don't know, but it's going to be very restricted when it comes to women. It's just going to be restricted, period. We're going to have to face that reality. But anyway, something you just said made me think about that.
Well, it is frustrating when you see the things they're attempting to do. I'm still not convinced they're going to be able to do most of it because of their own incompetence, because they need Congress to get on
Because
board with
you
a
know something
lot
you
of this
did
stuff.
say during the abortion initiative when you were saying that it's not just a woman's issue because men
Yeah.
have wives, daughters, they don't want to see this. And I think when it comes to cancer, that should be something that we're constantly pushing out there. Like, what if
Yeah.
your wife gets cancer? What if your daughter catches cancer? You're going to say, well, we're not going to treat her because if we treat her, she's not going to be able to have children. So she has no value. So why would we save her? Because that's basically what they're going to say. They might make it sound good to themselves. I don't know how you make that sound good, but I think that there's going to be a conversation where they're trying to sell the fact that how harmful this is to women and their fertility and all of that other kind of stuff. It's not safe. We got RFK right now, who is going to be the one overseeing this. And it's crazy.
Did
That
you
was a couple
watch his?
of years that,
Did you
and now
watch his hearing? Did you watch his hearing? RFK Jr.'s? Yeah, I watched it,
that
and
fool
there's
was butt
nobody
up there crying like a little kid.
there's nobody in their right mind that should vote for this guy. That's not to say they won't, but I made a statement on the TikTok, and I'm going to make it here too, because
Remember what we
sometimes,
said about Pete Hegseth?
yeah, 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 and that's what makes me think twice about it now. There's no reason why he should have been confirmed
Him,
either.
Cash
But
Patel, the puppy killer, all of them. They all
but
gonna
what
get
I
their.
want what I want to do is give a warning to Democrats in Congress or Democrats in the Senate. If any of you motherfuckers vote for any one of these people, you bend a knee or you try to go across the aisle, you should all be primaried, because you're not just voting against your party, you're voting against this country. You're attempting to hurt this country. And I don't give a fuck if you're Democrats. You need to go if you put one vote in for these people, because there's no reasonable mind that would vote for any of these people.
Um, Not only for the confirmations, I think that should go for the bills as well.
Absolutely.
The bill that Democrats, this is a bipartisan bill. Oh my God. I'm just like really pissed off. So they had that Lake and Riley bill, bipartisan, that they passed.
Right.
Without that bill, Donald Trump would not be able to send immigrants to another country. That was included in the language in that bill. If you noticed before, he wasn't talking about sending them there.
No.
Once he signed that bill, now he's like, oh yeah, we can raise send 30,000 of them. Because
To
the
Guantanamo, yeah.
atrocities that they are about to inflict on these immigrants, they cannot do that in the US. They can't do it here, but they
Right.
want to do it. So that's the workaround. We're not going to do it in America, but we're going to send them here and we're going to do it.
And
And
what
the
you're saying is
reason,
Democrats. What you're saying is Democrats voted for that too. There are some
yeah, and
Democrats
the
that got
reason
on
that
that
the
bill.
Democrats voted for it, the reason that Democrats voted for it, and the reason that AOC, I don't know if you've seen her speech on the floor, but the reason that she was so upset about it, and she called out Democrats too,
Yeah.
is the little side deal that they make with Republicans is, yeah, we'll sign this, we'll make it bipartisan, we'll send it over. Because as they start rounding up these immigrants, they need prisons. And you see the Democrats that signed on to this bill are all putting their money in for-profit prisons at this point.
Right.
They sign the bill, and first thing they do, they start investing in for-profit prisons. You see these detention centers and camps and stuff that they building in Texas. The people that signed their bill, they in on this now. This is going to be money for them to line their pockets. And yet they want to go on television and showboat and do all of this other kind of crap about we can't demonize immigrants. This isn't their fault. That isn't their fault. But you know what? We'll go ahead and sign something behind their backs because it's going to make us some extra money. And when AOC said every single person that signed this Laken Riley Act, you need to remember, because this is why they did it. And she called them out on the floor for investing in for-profit prisons. Right. Now that the bill has been signed and Donald Trump is like, hey, I just want to do some ruthless shit. Okay, yeah, I'll take them off of America so I can still get to do the stuff that I want to do to them. But the Democrats and the Republicans that signed that bill, they're like, well, we need to start getting some of these camps and prisons up so we can start making some money.
Right.
I
Right.
don't know how people do that, but they did it.
Well, and that's
Democrats
why I've always
and
said,
Republicans. This isn't a Republican Party. When you ask the
that's why,
Democrats to choose over immigrants and your pocket, they chose their pocket. And
well,
the
there's
AOC was
another guy
talking,
who
and they
did it.
were like, time, you need to stop talking. Your time is up. And she was sitting there telling these people the truth. And now you look at Donald Trump is coming out with quotas. The reason that they kicking indoors, they going to schools, they going to churches. You hear about them arresting people at churches, is because now Donald Trump is like, okay, wait, a thousand a week, that's not enough. So he starts putting quotas on these people. And he is quoted as saying, if you don't meet your quota, you're gonna have to deal with me. It's hell's gonna have to pay. Y'all need to meet these quotas. And now they like frantic because they're trying to meet this quota that the Trump administration set for them. The reason that they have the quotas in the first place is because they need to start filling up places so that the Democrats who signed off on that bill and Republicans can start getting a return on their investment. And these is people. These are human beings that they're doing this to without a
Well,
care
that's
in the world. And we can't sit here and just say, it's just going to be AOC and Jasmine Crockett that handles this. Hakeem Jeffries, I love him, but why are you posting Bible quotes and verses on social media?
yeah,
These people don't
yeah.
care about them damn Bible verses. They don't care. They don't believe in none of this crap that they say it.
Well,
You
I've
need to
told
get the
people
Democrats
before. I've
together and
told
let
people.
them know we are going to obstruct this crap. This is what we're going to do. Get them in line instead of letting them make backdoor deals with Republicans. Why are you talking about Bible verses online? I don't want to hear that. These are people being ripped from husbands and children. These are freaking people. It's
Well,
insane.
that's why I've said you've got to hold Democrats' feet to the fire. You've got people on this Lake and Riley thing that are Democrats that 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 voted for it. And as you said, they're making money off of privatized prisons. I mean, there's even I'll go back a ways. Jared Moskowitz. He was the Democratic darling. Everybody loved how he was ripping Republicans. He votes against TikTok and he immediately invests in Meta. That
Yeah.
right there takes me off Jared Moskowitz. He cannot be trusted. He's looking to make money. I don't give a shit. He should be primary just for that one act. Anybody who signed on to Lake and Riley, who was a Democrat, should be gone. And I think that's what the Democrats have to do. The Republicans say our guys are great no matter what they do. The Democrats can't play that game. We've got to say these guys are fucked up. We need to take them to task because we've got to clean up our party. Because as long as there's traitors on the Democratic side, we're fucked.
I just feel like in 2026 and in 2028, it's like all over again the lesser of two evils.
Yeah,
Because there's certain people we can't sacrifice in 2026 or 2028. It's like we have to get rid of the Republicans first before we can get rid of
that's
the
true.
corporate
That's true.
them and Dems that's lining their pockets, profiting off of people's pain right now. And for me, I know that I'm going to vote for these people who signed off on that bill because if I don't, the whole country just falls apart at that point.
But here's the thing:
Morally, you're lying
we got to
yourself with somebody like this.
we got
And
to
it's hard
take a
to do.
page from Donald Trump. We got to take a page from Donald Trump. I know what you're saying about sacrifice, and it goes back to what I said before. Let's fix the first problem first, get the Republicans out. But we need to approach those people that are doing these things and at least put a scare into them, like Donald Trump would. Point them out, expose them, and say, listen, motherfucker, you better get on board or you're going to get primaried. I'm not saying actually primary, just make that threat. Make it known that we know and that you're on fucking notice right now. Because if we don't do that, they're going to continue doing whatever the fuck they want.
Siding with people like that is gross and it
Yeah.
bothers me. But at the same
Yeah.
time, it's something that you have to do. Like nobody ever said this was gonna be easy. And we always
No.
knew that it was gonna be some snakes in the grass. Like that's to be expected. I don't think that I was prepared to see Democrats line their pockets with for-profit prisons, letting these atrocities that's supposed to happen and profiting off of that. That's the part
They've
that I
been
was.
doing it.
I was prepared for them to line their pockets when it comes to pharmaceuticals and all of that other kind of crap. Like when it comes to health insurance, the normal crap that they do. That's what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting this part of it though. And anybody that's
If you,
listening, if you haven't heard AOC air they butt out on the floor, you should go watch that video.
absolutely, absolutely. And if you think Republicans all bad guys and Democrats all good guys, you're
Mm-mm.
being fooled here. You're being fooled here. We're going to wrap up the Rational Boomer podcast. Uh,
I have to end on something good.
okay.
All right. Well, you know about it. But just in case people be like, how do you do stuff in your community and all that stuff that they ask? So on
Right.
Tuesday, and I didn't even tell you, Tuesday was my birthday. I turned 43. Yay. And all
Happy
this happened on
birthday.
my birthday. Yeah, like my honey and I, we were like dressed was gonna have this like whole date day, not date night, but date day. And this stuff started happening. I didn't want to leave. And he's like, it's your birthday. Worry about it when you get back. By the time I got to the car, he was like, you want to do something, don't you? And I'm like, yeah, I want to do something. But anyway, so like before, we still didn't get to go out, but we're gonna go out this weekend. But we had made a barter with one of the grocers out here. I guess you would call it like a corner store, but
Mhm.
it's like you can cash your check in there, you can buy groceries in there. But it's kind of like one of those stores where like this is the only store in the neighborhood unless you want to like travel and go to another store. But once they started seeing like the raids happen, and then Donald Trump brought his butt out here and talking, it scared the immigrants in our communities, right? And so like
Right.
his people stopped coming to work. And so I said, like, you know what? I got a community, right? And I got like kids that's of working age, we got adults and stuff. Like we could come in here and help you with your store and you don't have to pay us. However, we gotta feed people. I was like, so instead of like paying us with cash, maybe you could pay us with like meat and stuff that you have left over. And he's like, okay, cool. So we doing that. And we were like getting all this meat, marinating it, like putting marinade in there, zipping it up, putting it in the freezer so we prepare to use it later. And then as soon as this happened, we find out that the pantry has like so many people in line because they thinking they EBT's not going to work and all that stuff. The boxes that they normally take and deliver to seniors, those boxes is not going out because all the people in line is taking all the food. So the organizer that I used to work with, she called me and we were talking about it. And I was like, you know what, I got all this extra meat. So what I will do is like, give me a list of the seniors that is not going to get their food. I can cook their meals or meal prep for them and drop them their food off. And so like that's what I was doing. And that's why I couldn't be on the podcast yesterday because on Tuesday it was kind of like last minute. It's like myself, the ladies, we had the kids with a little assembly line going and we're like cooking, trying to make food, get them their food because these people hadn't eaten like all day and just trying to
Right.
make sure they eat and stuff like that. And then she's like, hey, can you think you can keep this going through like maybe for a couple of weeks? Because like right now we are running out of food. And so that's what I'm doing. And so
Well,
even
the
if it's like a meal right now, I figured out a way because eggs is expensive. And I seen like these powdered eggs, and I'm like, I don't know what this stuff gonna taste like. I'm not gonna do this. But one of the women, she's like, please, I grew up on powdered eggs. I got this. And so I like baked bread and stuff. So I made some like homemade bagels. And we used that. We used some of the meat and the powdered eggs, and we made like breakfast bagel sandwiches because before they was
oh,
getting like one meal a day and some juice, but now they get the breakfast, a snack, dinner, and Gator water, which like I don't know if you know what that is, but it's basically homemade lemonade with like a Kool-Aid pack in there. So like make it look green and we just call it Gator water. And so that's what they're getting right now. and anybody that's listening, if you know it's like somebody hungry, especially like older people who can't get out and go into the food lines and stuff like that, you don't have to cook for a bunch of people. But if you know like one person, just be like, hey, like I can bring you a couple meals throughout the day or whatever you cook, just like take them something extra. And that could help too. And that is like what's keeping me sane. And these bad kids, like these kids is bad as heck. But you can't like be down and upset when you are around them. And they want to help volunteer. They haven't complained about having to like volunteer in that store and not get paid for it. They haven't complained when they have to help drop food off, or they haven't complained when they're helping the younger kids with their homework. They just they don't complain. It's kind of like, okay, we know what we have to do, and so like we're doing it. And that keeps me positive. And so I just wanted to end on a positive note.
Well, and that shows it can be done, and not everybody is as resourceful as Old Soul. But as you pointed out, even if you help
I
one
have
person or one couple.
I know that your daughter-in-law is pregnant, and plus, they have your little granddaughter. But I've made some because the kids like they get snacks throughout the day. I learned how to make like Lunchables because those are
Oh,
expensive.
really?
And I learned how to make like little granola bars. And so when we
Oh,
get done,
wow.
I'm gonna send it to you because I think that your granddaughter would like it because these kids are
She
like tearing it up.
she
But
loves
if
granola bars. Yeah.
oh yeah, start making them at home. She gonna love them.
Yeah, yeah. Especially if you can help some kids. Old Soul's a great role model for us, and not everybody can do as much as Old Soul does. I don't even know how Old Soul does that much, but it's a blessing to a lot of those folks. She does great work, and
But I guess if I
in
have to
these
stay
times,
at
it's
home
important
and
to
I
help.
can't go to a red state, I should just do something positive here, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. All right, Old Soul. Before I get you crying here, because you had a couple moments there that looked like you were getting a little verklempt, as some would say. I appreciate you coming on, and
Thanks.
people look forward to it all the time. So it's great to have you back, and keep me in touch in the text. You send me a lot of text. You send me more text than my wife sends me, and that's fine. I love hearing from you and hearing about all the things you're doing.
I
And
I didn't think that I was gonna make it. Like I was really upset because I was already tripping off of the for-profit thing. Then we got the freeze and all this other stuff going on. And I was telling my TT, I was like, there's people that I asked to watch the podcast or listen to it, and I just don't know how I'm gonna come across. I was like, maybe like I could text Boomer. I know him. He'll be like, oh yeah, you can come on Friday, whatever. He's cool. And she was like, well, you can't do that because like right now you are like our voice
yeah,
and we don't feel like shutting up. So you need to sit down and, speak. And I didn't
absolutely.
cancel. I was like, all right, I'll get to it. And
All
that's
right.
it.
Yeah, we look forward to it. I know a lot of people look forward to it. Be looking in the comments, because I'm sure people will have plenty to say. Um, but I just so people know, when I get texts from Old Soul, it's pretty much OMG Boomer, did you see this? And sends me a link to an interview or to a lot of it I have seen, because I try to cover as much as I can. But a lot of times she brings up stuff that I go, holy fuck. Oh, so you got to lay off this shit a little bit. You're going to kill yourself doing this.
I be so like angry sometimes. It's like, did you
I
see
know,
this?
I know,
Because
I
I
know.
was like, I like I know that we had talked before when they took away the teaching of the ski airmen from the Air
Right.
Force. And then we were like watching it because there was somebody who had leaked the fact that the Trump administration, they are going to cancel MLK Day, Black History Month, Juneteenth. They are going to cancel it. So we were like sitting around waiting for this to happen. And my brother and myself, we're watching like military.com because my brother was like, if they cancel it anywhere, they're going to do it in the military first. They're going to see how that go. And then they're going to push it on everybody else. And then
Yeah.
I looked up today. My brother was like, hey, have you been watching it? I go to the website right away. I saw that they had canceled in the military Black History Month, Juneteenth.
Yeah.
there's like a disability day that they canceled. Their women's suffrage, they canceled that. So all of this stuff that they observe in the military, they canceled it. And you can ask anybody in the military, because what they're trying to do right now is root out people who are not willing to go along with this plan. And the
Right.
new recruits, like I can't confirm it, but I have heard from recruiting officers and people in the military that these people are being asked, would you follow an unlawful order? Would you be willing to turn your weapon on American citizens? Like, these are questions that I can't confirm it, but these are questions that's being asked for new recruits. And
Wow.
matter of fact, the wild child, her mentor is in the military. And I was asking her about it, and she was like, I've heard people say that, but I haven't personally asked anybody that question. But she's heard that these are the type of questions that they're asking people in the military. I was outraged today because I'm like, oh, they just canceled it straight up in the military? Canceled it. Because there's a certain type of military that they are trying to build up right now. It doesn't
Well, if they
involve,
continue,
and I don't know if you've seen it or not, but the transgender women in the military right now, they had to do a lawsuit against Pete Hegseth because he was like, I'm kicking all transgender people out. But at least these women are fighting back. So they filed a lawsuit. I heard one of them giving an interview, and she was like, I think she had been in for like 18 years. And she said this is the only thing that she's ever wanted to do. But you have that. So they're taking out like any type of diversity, women, men, anything. Y'all get kicked out. We're going to put just pretty much like all white men military, and they need to be open to the fact that we're going to tell y'all to do some unlawful shit. You're going to go along with it or not.
well,
And
if that happens, it's going to get pretty fucking ugly because people won't
I'm
stand for it.
happy the lawsuits that I'm seeing right now came from the transgender women. And I'm hoping that, other people will follow suit when they start getting kicked out. Even seeing that they took away Mark Milley, like one of his stars, and they
Or they're
removed his
trying to. I don't.
out of the Pentagon.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Well, also thank you. Keep us posted with what you got going on, and we'll talk more about all this crazy shit. That's all we can do, and get the word out as much as we can. Those of you listening, I want to thank you for taking the time to do that. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.